Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to the Slog once again. So we're going to add a couple more shops to this front area today. First up is a gun shop of sorts. My feeling on the matter is that it's less to do with selling guns, given the location of the Slog. More like repairing the weapons and armour of the caravan traders who come by. So I can't imagine they get a great deal of traffic otherwise. It's quite a long way from anywhere, and travelling is not the safest thing in the world in the wasteland. So, working with the RV caravan thing here, which I've used before at the Glowing Sea, if I remember rightly. But it forms a nice solid basis for a junky background part for this shop type thing, workshop deal. So we'll drop it into place, give it a little bit of extra support, and that's the main sort of skeleton of it anyway. So my first thought even, was to use this guard post as a kind of shop front, but clearly we can't actually get into it. It's from Aslan's junk wall pack, which is, it's very handy for a few things, but it doesn't work for this one, so we're going to build something similar, but do it from scratch so that we can actually get in the side of the thing. So to mix things up a little bit, decided to use a metal roof, one of the retextures in USO. I do like these green ones, largely because I just like green things. There we go. So group select, drop it into place, nice and easy. Just going to use the crossbar in the middle there to line up with the centre of the door, roughly speaking. And there we go, we have a roof. I had thought about using one of the fabric ones from the wood tab, but a bit too obvious. And I tried some of the cloth structures as well, and they didn't work very well either. Too big or too awkward to work with. So, the old favourite, the CVA wire fence posts to prop the front corners up. Fortunately, they won't sink quite low enough, so group select again. And in we go. I remember this being a lot more awkward than it actually seems to be on the watching back of it. Partly because it's at 1.5 times speed, I suppose, but yeah, it was a bit of a faff. This actual structure went together reasonably easy. There was a little bit of trial and error, but the whole thing went up in 20 minutes or so. Wasn't too bad, really. Most things take me a lot longer than that. So what I'm trying to do here is line this chain link gate up, just with the post and the roof, which I could probably have done from the side here. But I didn't like the position at the front, so we'll bob it along towards the back where it won't quite work. So group selected is. So you can sort of see the horizontal bar on the roof there. That would probably have been the easiest way to line this up, but I have to do things the hard way, so there we go. It works. That gate, and in fact all the doors that I've used in this particular build, and probably for the most part from here on out, from a mod suggested to me by somebody whose name I do apologise, I can't remember, in the comments of one of the earlier videos. In fact, I think the first one for this build, which is an automatically closing set of doors. It's just another tab in the main menu with all the doors. We've got AAT on the front of them for automatically closing, funnily enough. And yeah, you just place them in like normal doors, and after a couple of seconds they shut behind you, or behind any settler that happens to wander through them, more to the point, which is quite helpful. And there's a reasonable selection in there, and if my reading of the notes on it was accurate, then the mod's being sort of continually updated as well, so there should be more and more as time goes on. Need to add it to the mods list at some point, actually. So around this side we're just going to put a solid wall in, sort of. Use the term solid quite loosely. And there's no opening part to it. Just mix and match. Crikey, I cannot speak today. What is going on? That's totally wonky, so we'll reposition it. Actually, as it turns out, group select wasn't needed at all. There we go. It's not quite as snug as it could be, but that's kind of fine for this sort of thing. So there's a couple of points in this that aren't quite as neat and tidy as I'd like, but we make do. Kind of makes sense that things wouldn't be perfectly neat and tidy, but I'm a little OCD sometimes. So, get this chain link fence in. I'm just making sure I can see the little loops on the edge poking through and then pushing it back a little so I know it connects. And we have our side wall. So, now we need a counter in the front. I'm going to use Aslam's workshop decoration pack for this one. So he's got a range of pre-decorated counters in there. Go with this more rustic one, that kind of suits the build better. It just slides in nice and easily, which means we can drop a invisible vendor rug, good god, straight on the ground behind it. That will then be at the right height, hopefully. And we'll see when I actually get round to assigning settlers to them. Clearly, however, this doesn't quite fit, so I'll nudge a barrel in there to block the gap up with. It looks like it belongs. There we go. Dead simple. This bit's completely unnecessary, but I wanted a little bit of dressing on the front of it. My first thought was to seal it off with a kind of chain link all the way off to make it a bit more secure. There's a sort of a vaguely New Vegas vibe, and just generally making a gun shop a bit more secure. But I kind of like the ratty look of this, so kind of threw plan A out the window and just went with that instead. And that is our little gun shop, gun workshop type thing. So I've been thinking since the start of this build that I wanted to use these industrial prefabs. It's a matter of finding the right place, which I'm not entirely convinced this is, but whatever, it works. They're a bit of a pain to work with because they don't snap to each other. It's a case of manually putting them in. Sometimes they just go in fine like this, sometimes group select's needed. But it's worth paying attention to the name of the piece, because you've got Industrial Prefab Hall, which is the ones I'm using here, and there's room pieces as well. They're not quite the same size, so they don't necessarily fit together. So if you've got the matching names, then they should, in theory, be the same size. But positioning them in is a bit awkward. If you haven't got a flat surface like this, and to be honest I could do with a larger, flatter surface than even this really, then the best option is probably just to lift it up into the air using group select, and then group select everything else together, which you'll see me doing in just a moment. For reasons like this, which is it doesn't quite sit properly. One advantage, however, to the fact it doesn't snap is it kind of works in a similar way to group select, not group select, the rug glitch, sorry. So once everything's pushed together, it makes it a lot easier to position, especially after the fact. As you can see, I've had a few issues. That top corner there, you just about to see, doesn't quite line up. Whether it's because of the floor or because of the pieces, I don't know, but when we pull everything out of the way, it'll group select in much more easily. Although it is worth noting you basically only get one shot when you group select these things, otherwise you have to go all the way back and start again. So I suppose you can do it an infinite number of times, but you've got to get it right. You can't just make micro adjustments later on. Fortunately, as you can see here, it's reasonably soft on the edges, so in fact it's very soft to be fair, and that makes it a lot easier to put it all together. If you turn off the green highlight in your HUD menu through the settings menu, it might actually be easy to see what you're doing, which I know some YouTubers do, so Daily springs to mind, but for some reason I've never got into the habit of doing that. Unfortunately, as you can see, that end piece didn't decide to come with, so I ditched the whole idea there, just for sake of ease. But the one on the right here did, so we'll group select sort of rug glitch but not, and get this into place. One thing to be aware of is that whilst it looks right on the ground there, the clipping through of the grass, particularly as a result of simple green, makes no sense at all with a solid metal floor, so we'll lift it back up. Not so much a problem if you haven't got simple green on, but in this instance it looks slightly ridiculous, so we'll lift it up and we'll work around that slight problem in a bit. So, this is the Cola Cars cage from Nuka World. It's actually the structure inside which you first meet Porter Gage, if you've played through that particular DLC. I've used it for a type of greenhouse sort of thing before, in a build at Sanctuary, funnily enough, a while back. So I'm using a similar principle again. It doesn't quite fit, to be honest, but that's fine. The whole thing's supposed to be improvised and making use of whatever you get your hands on anyway, so it looks alright. It's a bit awkward about its positioning, and because it sticks out at the back here, we've got a gap in the roof. And I could have rug glitched it together and solved that problem, but That tends to cause problems on down the line when you want to put stuff inside the thing, because you can't... Excuse my phone there. Because you can't remove the rug without the whole thing dropping, so... You've got it roughly level with the top of the industrial prefab there. And now we'll just have to plug up the gaps. There we go. These are wooden boards. The one at the bottom is a recent addition to USO. It's actually a door frame filler. It's previously was only available even in custom vanilla assets, but it's been, as I say, recently added to USO, so it makes life a lot easier. And then we'll just top it off with a wooden railing. There's one area that's not as neat as I'd like it to be, but it will do the job, so we can live with it. It actually doesn't stick out. It looks like it does, but the coal car's cage sticks out at the back there, so it kind of works. This technique is another of Sardeliac's favourites. He tends to wrap the bottom of his sort of rustic houses, that sort of thing, shacks I think that's probably the best word, in junk fences like this. And he basically uses this technique: group select, stand outside the building, line it up from the inside, push it back a bit, and there we go. I haven't actually elected to do this all the way around, just because I've already hit the build limit, I think twice so far. Well, the equivalent of twice. And we've had a few FPS issues as well, so as you can't see the back of it, there's not really much point in putting extra objects back there and just causing further load on the PS4. So we're going to plug up this end after our little hiccup before with a couple of half walls. I quite like the way these sort of slope away from each other if you put them back to back like this. It's a kind of nice curved top, which, yeah, it's cool. I like that. And it group selects in nice and easy as well. So we'll apply the same principle around here. And just group select that in. I've had to use the taller post here just because the concrete one won't allow me to sink the wall in quite as far as I'd like. Actually, this is a little too low, and I had to come back and rug glitch it in after the rest of the build was done, just to close up a little gap. But the principle works if you get it right. I just didn't happen to on this occasion. So same thing again on the front, only this time we will actually use the rug glitch as well. Bounce it on the rock there. Fortunately, these straight junk fences are reasonably cooperative with it. The other ones not so much, but these ones work okay. So we'll grab it with the pillar. And chilly anyway. And just slide it into place. So it's actually a little too far back. Nah. It looks okay, but it sticks through on the back. I suppose it adds a bit of texture. You'll see in just a second. But it wasn't very cooperative when it came to adjusting it here, so I could have pulled the whole thing out and started again, but yeah, we'll leave it as is and just have a bit of extra texture instead. So, close up this little bit of gap here. I'm going to put a door, funnily enough, this door, and a staircase in front of it. So I didn't want to use junk fences that stick out a little bit more, so we're just using the little half wall there. I will close that gap up using a railing in a bit, but as it's the same principle, we'll skip over that and just put the stairs in. These are cinder block ones, just to mix and match a little bit. And there we go. So a couple of tables down inside. We'll put a door in. And there we have our structure. Just a little bit of decoration left now. So, once I drop this into place, we'll take a look at the tour. Eventually. It's a bit of a faff to line up at the top of the door frame there, but it's the easiest way of doing it. So, nice and scrappy. which sounds like a bit of a contradiction in terms, but anyway. And we'll take a look around our little produce vendor. This is intended as a kind of farm shop selling various things they've produced in the main part of the settlement. And there we go, a few more bits and pieces for sale in there. There's the trader's station and their living quarters just around this side. Heavy use of Aslam's workshop decoration pack again. It speeds the process up considerably. I like it, it's compact and cosy. A little bit of carpet on the floor makes a startling difference. It looked very, very bare before I put that out, but it does make the whole place look a lot more homey. There we go, you can see the doors closed behind me. We'll swing around and take a look at the gun shop in just a moment. We've had a few more options for sort of shop signs, but that was the closest I could find for this sort of thing. Group selected in the wire mesh there and chain link fence at the back as well, just to close off the windows a bit as well. Could have boarded them up to keep the weather out, but I like the way that looks. It lets the light in that way. There we go. This is the finished product in our gun shop, workshop type thing. Our provisioner appears to be having a little bit of difficulty here though. Yeah, a few tools. Did think about seeing if I could get a door on this thing. The lighthouse door might have done the trick, but I thought a curtain looked a little different, made a change, so that one's in the decoration tab of USO. That half wall went in absolutely fine. No glitching or clever tricks required. It fits quite nicely. And there we go. Our little gun vendor's little slice of heaven. So, I think we'll put a little something out front at some point, but I think we'll move on into the main part of the settlement next time. For now, thank you very much for watching as always. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, I'm sure you know what to do by now. Social media links are down in the description. Do come and hit me up on there. I will speak to you all very, very soon. Thank you very much.